So I'm sure that if someone says, don't sing my song,
the
the
person's
person's
from
from
Ghana.
Africa.
Oh, my Lord.
Because I don't know, man. Not all songs are sung.
Okay.
There are silent songs. Today, many pastors have become gods. They have called their spouses into ministry. But some just have natural talent.
Okay.
But if you don't have that natural talent and you have the ear, you can grow and understand once you begin to learn the dynamics of music a bit.
Fill me up till I overflow. I wanna run over.
Well, so if you put all the songs in the world, it cannot really touch. If you do something and your target market is only Ghanaians, you can be a hit. It's possible.
It's possible.
Just in America. Okay. The problem is, we don't know how to reach out to these people. There's no way to reach out to these people. If you send a song to Ghana and they play it on radio, you know that every Ghanaian, majority of Ghanaians are going to hear your song. Here, if you send your song to a radio station, where are you really going to send it?
The following broadcast is brought to you by kmtv Kumasi and Multimedia, USA.
Hello, viewers. Welcome to today's exclusive interview that I'm going to have with a very special person. But before I do introduce the person to you, I'd like to let you know that this interview is brought to you by Live for Christ Multimedia and KMTV. Now, this person that I have here is someone who is a very, very instrumental person in the community. He has been around for a very long time, and I'm very happy he's here with us to tell us more about himself and the many good things he's doing in the community. Stay tuned, be with us to the end, and I'm sure you walk away with so many things you never know before. On that note, I'll introduce you to Pastor Emmanuel Nickson. Pastor Nickson.
Hello, sir.
How are you doing?
Wonderful. Thank you.
How's the family?
Great, by God's grace.
I'm very happy to be here with you, and thank you for the opportunity that you have given us to
My pleasure.
know you more and to have this discussion with you. Why this conversation is very important is that we live in a society that, because of the fast pace of life, we just get wrapped up in working and many things, so it's just more of high and by. And that alone gives us the impression, I know this person. This person is my friend, but we have little information about the person apart from the name and then what they do.
Right.
So I'm very happy you give us the opportunity to put you on the microscope to get to know more about you. So we do know your name is Pastor Emmanuel Nickson. Is that your legal name, or is that a name that your parents gave you officially?
Well, we know that as a pastor, Bible says no one takes this honor upon himself except he who is called of God. So, well, I've heard people who are called pastor, they were given that name at birth. But mine is a calling. It's not a name. It's a calling that is attached to my name. I'm an ordinary man, but God called me as a pastor. So that's why the name Pastor Emmanuel Nickson. Of course, it's legal because I'm a registered reverend minister. So I'm not just called pastor just because I serve, but also I'm registered in the state. So that's why the name Pastor Emmanuel Nickson.
Very good to know, because there are some people that bear the title pastors, but then not registered. Do you have a middle name, perchance?
I do.
Do you mind sharing that with us?
Well, my middle name is Opoku.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people do not know that. But from childhood, I've never used that. It's always Emmanuel Nickson. So it was maybe 10 years ago, I decided to add that as my legal name, but it wasn't actually on my birth certificate until recently. It said that that's my name, so why not add that? So I'm actually Kwesi Poku.
Kwesi Poku. Wow. That's interesting, because I don't really use my middle name, and it's not on any of my official documents. So I think that the opposite or the differences between us is you are using it now,
Yeah.
and mine still is on the back burner.
Well, they call it nickname in a
Right.
sense, but it's not a nickname. It's actually my name. Yeah.
Right.
So I would say that if it's not written officially, then probably termed as a nickname. But
Right.
mine is not a nickname. It's my actual name.
Wow. Well, I like Kwesi Poku. Pastor Nickson, most of us do know you as a pastor, but more significantly as a singer, as a worshiper. I've been in many events that you have held a microphone and sang, and we have enjoyed it, and we have felt the presence of God. So having said that, who really are you? And if you may, or if you would, can you paint a picture of who you truly are so that we can really know you as we ought to, other than your name and a singer?
Well, this answer might be an answer that probably might not be appealing, but if you ask, who am I? Well, I will answer in another way to say that I am nothing without Christ.
Interesting.
So who am I puts me on a pedestal to probably describe myself, somewhat elevate myself in a boastful manner. I am someone who just loves God and is trying to chase after God, to find God, to know Him more. This is simply me. All the other things that I'm doing, is just by God's grace. But really, my heart of hearts, I am someone who is chasing after God. Of course, that transcends to people, because if you love God, you love people. So you know me. I mean, I'm open to a lot of people, young, middle, old. I'm very open to people. That is because of the God's nature in me. And I'm still pursuing after Him. I love Him, and this is who I am, someone who is chasing after God.
Wow. So then, what you said just brought my mind to a scripture that I came across. I believe it's in the book of Psalms, where David said, "The zeal of the Lord has consumed me." So basically, that is how best you describe yourself, as someone who, regardless of all that you have accrued, all that you have achieved over the years, you still say you are nothing in comparison to Christ, and without Christ, you are nothing.
Yes.
And you are still chasing after God. You are thirsty for God.
Yes.
Wow.
That's my life's purpose, and that is me.
Wow.
I don't care about anything, achievements and all that. All that I care is that He may increase as I decrease. So for me to sit here and then start telling people, I am this person, I am that person, I'd rather elevate Christ. That is every opportunity that I get, I let the Christ in me shine and myself decrease.
Wow.
So this is who I am, someone who wants to know God, who wants to know Christ, and to know Him more, to be acquainted with Him more and more.
Wow. That's very, very interesting, because as you kept saying that, it reminds me of some of the letters that Apostle Paul wrote, where he accounted that he was a citizen and all that he achieved, but then at the end of the day, he just trashed all of that, because he said without God, he's nothing. Wow, that's very interesting and good to know. That is speaking volumes. What 5 words would you choose to describe yourself? If all you could give, or all you could say, just give us 5 words to describe yourself.
Well, I think that that answer is in the previous answer that I just gave. Someone who is chasing after Christ, to know Him, to be less of self and more of God. Because we are in a generation, you said 5 words, but I think some words must be explained, We're in a generation, of course, social media and all these things. People are there just to elevate themselves, talk about themselves. They talk about their problems, they talk about their achievements, they talk about other people's problems.
Right.
And when you don't like their statements,
Right.
They count how many people they like and they boast about it.
That's right.
But there is nothing in it, really. So recently, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram and I hardly go there. I'm on Twitter and I hardly go there.
Right.
Facebook is where everybody is at.
Right.
Of course, it's a community that everybody must be in, and if you want to get connected, you know, if you're in ministry, you want people to know, and I preach on Facebook and all that. But it's so distracting. If you are not careful, you might think that, you know, as a minister, you're not doing much because maybe only 10 people saw your video, you know, and all that. But it is nothing. You know, what I'm looking for is to know God and to be known of God. Irrespective of how many likes and friends I have, it does not move me. I am at that place by God's grace now that I don't want to be popular. I don't want to be liked. When I'm known of God, that's all that matters to me. That's my joy, that I have a relationship with God. I am walking circumspectly, walking in his righteousness. I'm known of him. He knows me. That's all that matters to me.
I think the striking statement that you just made, and I believe it will stick with me and the viewers, is that you said you want to know more of God and to be known by God. And that's a very big statement. Hopefully when we have time, I'll circle back to that.
All right.
So you break it down.
I hear you.
So in as much as you identify so much as someone who is nothing without Christ and so much after Christ, on a personal level, I'd like to know, you know, where you come from, where you were born, some schools you went to, you know, just so we'll have more, you know, relations to you as to, oh, you went to the same school I went,
Okay.
this, that. So then, without wasting my time, where were you originally born?
Well, I was born in Kumasi, Accra. Kumasi, Ghana. And then I moved to Accra. But prior to that, a couple of years, I was in Axim, where my mom comes from. So from around age 5, amazingly, I remember vividly where I was in Kumasi as a child. My mom traveled to the States. Of course, my dad went first, and a year later, my mom went. So I was 5 when my dad traveled. I was 6 when my mom traveled. But I remember when my mom was traveling, you know, as young as I was. So to say that, to go back down to where I was born in Kumasi, I remember the nursery school I went. I remember being hurt. One of my eye, I don't know if it's the left or right, there is a mark there. So we're playing on a, you know, in a playground, and then something hit my eye. I remember vividly the picture of what exactly happened as young as I was. So I went to Axim a couple of years. When my mom was traveling, I was 6. So prior to age 6, I still remember all these things. It's amazing to me sometimes. When I look back, and it's like, I thought maybe I was older than them.
Right.
But yeah, that's my age, you know. So I remember that. So I was born in Kumasi. I moved to Axim because, you know, a lot of things happened. Don't want to go into it. My mom, my aunts, you know, the family moved to Accra. So I went to Axim for a bit. A couple of years later, my mom took me from Axim, brought me to Accra, you know, and then I lived with my aunt. So I was with my mom for about a year or 6 months, and then that's when she traveled. So I've lived in Accra all my life, and my adult years I was in Dansoman.
Okay.
You know, Dansoman all my life, and then prior to traveling to the States, I moved to Wager, maybe 4 years or so.
Okay.
Moved to Wager because my dad built a home there, and you know, they had to let me go there. I didn't want to go, but they pushed me there.
You have
so
no choice.
because all my guys and everything that I did was in
Right.
Dansoman, you know, ministry, friends, and all that. So I moved to Wager. Of course, I was still coming down to Dansoman. It's not that far, but I prefer to be in Dansoman. So all my adult years, starting ministry and all that, all started in Dansoman.
I see.
Yeah.
So which secondary school, well, now they call it senior high school. So which primary school did you go to? Which senior high school did you go to? If you had stayed in Ghana long enough, you know, which tertiary institution did you attend?
Okay, well, I didn't go to senior secondary school, like they
Okay.
say. I went to secondary school.
Right. Okay.
So I was, we were the last batch before the SSS system.
I see.
Yeah. So
I'm not familiar with that.
okay, so we have the secondary school. So you go, you know, from, of course, we have our nursery, we have kindergarten, and then you go to, you know, all that primary level.
Okay.
Up to class 6.
Right.
So after class 6, in class 6 we have 6 form, lower and upper form.
Okay.
So that's the class 6.
Okay.
Before you go to, so that lower and upper 6, So it ended at class 6. So
Okay.
I went to class 6, then I went to secondary school from Form 1 to Form 5.
Okay.
Yeah, so from there you do A level, 2 years, lower level, upper level, before you go to university. So that's why in our time we are smart and we are. But now it's JSS and then you go to SS 3 years.
Right.
So ours was kind of different. You spend about 7 years before you go to. I know somebody might be looking at, well, the guy is old. No,
I'm
not
about
that
to say, I'm about to say that because I didn't come to meet the upper 6, lower 6.
Yeah,
I
of
came
course.
to meet class 1 to 6, and then you go to J1 to J3.
Right.
Then you write BEC, and then you go to
So
the
the
senior
generation
secondary
has
school.
changed tremendously.
It's changed. So I don't want to guess your age, but we'll get there soon too.
Yeah, so after, by God's grace, I was kind of smart. So at class
Kinda
5.
or was or is.
Well, I said that because it's up to those who were looking on to
Right.
judge.
Sure.
So the reason why I didn't even finish class 6 and then they pushed me to secondary school, Form 1. Well, the school that I went was the easiest school to get to. My parents were in abroad and it wasn't easy at the time. So I went to, it used to be called Eden, like Eden, but there's F in front of it. F apostrophe EDEN, Feeding.
Okay.
Feeding Mission High School,
Okay.
Accra, around Akuman Junction.
Okay.
So that's where the school was. So we went there, and then I finished O level in '94, ordinary level. So that is Form 5.
Right.
So I finished Form 5 in 1994, and then I was supposed to go to sixth form somewhere, but things didn't happen for me. Things were not easy, so I went to school in Accra. I think Pig Farm area is called Harvard College.
Okay.
It was just sixth form. I did my sixth form there, but mostly I did my classes, extra classes here and there, and then I wrote my A level. Well, my parents decided that they would they want me to come to the States, so they won't want me to continue to the university. Some of my friends did went to university. There were delays also here and there. So I had to wait. So
Right.
it took some time. And then, so just imagine all that time. So around that time, I realized that I had a calling, from singing. That was after '94, after I left secondary school. That's when I realized. But after I did my O level, so I think I delayed a year or so. I mean, I'm talking about A level. So 96, 95, 96, maybe 97, I've done my advanced level. I had to rewrite the second, So I have done my A level. So I didn't go to school again. And then I found myself in ministry. Long story short, I did some secular music a bit. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, before I actually found myself in church.
Okay.
And then, this ministry started. So you asked me about my school and all that, so
Right.
I just don't want to
Okay.
go in there. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's how it happened. So I finished Harvard College, and then I was just hanging around, just got into ministry, singing, helping churches here and there. And then here am I.
Wow.
Yeah, so when I came here, I decided I want to go back to school.
Okay.
So I started Ashford University.
Okay.
Yeah, so in the middle of it, marriage, children, so I put it on hold.
Right.
But talking about school, I did take some Bible classes. I went to Word of Faith.
Okay.
That's Winners Chapel.
Okay.
Back
Oyedepo.
then, Winners, yes.
Okay.
They had started. So I went to, they were doing some classes for, students. So I went there, I was ordained there.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I came here. So, and then I did a little bit, some classes also at my previous church, World Missions Ministries.
Okay.
Not so much, but I did some Bible college classes there as well. So that is where my education history ends.
Okay.
Yeah, it hasn't ended.
Right.
But, pertaining to this, that's where it ended. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So having said that, apart from ministry and you having the required knowledge, the certifications and all of that, the licenses, when it comes to actual education as to college degrees, bachelor's, master's, and all of that, where do you stand now?
Well, certifications.
Certifications, okay.
Okay, so mine is certifications. Okay, so I chose Ashford because, I love business. I was doing business administration there.
Okay.
and then I had to pause it. I was doing well, but when I realized that, I started getting B, and I realized that things were going to be different because the kids started coming in. Life was not easy. It started to I didn't want to spoil my grades, so I decided to put it on hold and then continue the future. So I shifted, and then I started learning network engineering. So I have studied network engineering from 2016 up till now. So I can say that I haven't worked in it so much, but I'm quite proficient when it comes to that. So that is where my focus is. I've done some classes on cybersecurity and all that, but network engineering, I'm talking about from cables all the way to switches and routers and firewalls and all that.
Hubs and all that.
Yes, so I'm kind of proficient there. So that is where I headed towards. So if, let's say, I want to go to school, it might be maybe computer science and all that. But, I mean, the world has changed.
That's true.
You don't need all that, necessarily.
Right.
So I've done some few certifications. Not to go too much into it. I've done some few certifications.
So I'm getting the vibe as you are more of IT man, because those networking and all of that is towards IT route.
Yes.
Okay.
Into IT.
So we know you as a pastor, and you are a pastor. What is the name of your church, and how long have you served there?
Kingdom Liberty Ministries Worldwide. We started as Christ Life Outreach Ministries. When we started, of course, we had to register and all that paperwork. So we didn't want to start ministry without the proper documentation.
Okay.
So that is the name. So as time went on, I was praying the Lord took me back to many, 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 many years ago when he first touched me and called me. What the name he gave me, how it relates to Kingdom Liberty Ministries Worldwide, and all the slogans and all that was given by God. So now that is the name, Kingdom Liberty Ministries Worldwide. It was around 2014 October. That's when we started meeting in a home.
Okay.
And then gradually we found a place, a hotel, and then we found our actual building. So from 2014 up till now, by God's grace, I've been serving in that ministry, and God has been good.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Kingdom Liberty
Ministries
Worldwide. Powerful. I love that.
KLMW.
KLMW. And where exactly is it located? Just, if any of our viewers is located around, the place, and, they want to check you out, they want to worship with you, with the COVID and all. I don't know if you guys have resumed, face-to-face sessions or virtual.
Okay. So, well, of course, since the COVID, the shutdown, we were doing virtual. But 3 weeks ago, we recently started doing in-person. So we are now meeting in a hotel or in Springfield, 7010 Old Keene Mill Road in Springfield, in the hotel conference room. Okay. Yeah, a lot of people get the address, but they miss it. But it is in the hotel conference room. That's where we are right now. Yeah, we are, building everything afresh. The in-person is a challenge. Not everybody wants to come.
Absolutely.
So, but we'll do what God wants us to do.
Absolutely.
So irrespective of, I know nowadays Christians are waiting for everything to be cool.
That's right.
But through the fire, he said he's going to be with us. So we stepped out and we're doing what God put on our heart to do.
Glory be to God. Yeah. Glory be to God. What is the name of the hotel?
Homewood Suites.
Homewood Suites.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the only Homewood Suites in Springfield. Right off of, once you turn from the mall, you turn onto Old Keene. I think, I'm not sure if that's the first hotel, but that's the first hotel on the roadside. You see it's right behind, there is a FedEx building right there. So right behind, and there is also a bank. I think it's a SunTrust Bank or so. It's right there. Yeah.
Okay. We know you to be a man that wear many hats. We know you to be a pastor. We know you to be a musician. We know you to be a sound engineer. We know you to be a father and many things in the community. You've already told us earlier on how you became a pastor, but now I want to ask you, how did you become sound engineer, and what got your interest? What got you there?
Well, this is many years ago. When I realized that I had talent for music, or I had love for music. All these happened after 94 when I completed school. maybe God wanted me to finish my O level so he can get my attention.
Okay.
So anytime I see, we used to have these, like maybe 15 inches or so, or 10 inches keyboard. It's like just an octave and a quarter or something.
Okay.
And we would just enjoy it. Those days they used to have small keyboards
Right,
like
right.
that, like toy pianos. And we would just enjoy it. I would try to play all the folkloric songs that we used to have. And then I realized that I had a friend who actually know how to play. So I said, wow, I didn't know that. So I started carrying the piano to him to start teaching me. Of course, there was no time, so I could meet a few times, maybe a couple of months or so. Then I started learning by myself, So after that music, I recognized that I could sing. Like I said, I did write some secular music. And I went to a studio. I didn't even know how to compose. So I wrote lyrics, let's say about 10 songs or so. And there was this band called Octopus Band.
Okay.
Okay, back in Accra of Dakuman, they were somewhere there. So a friend of mine took me there. He knew the guys. He used to live around, so he knew the guys. So he took me there. His name is Emmanuel as well.
Okay.
He took me there, just to see how things are done. Anybody watching that knows Atari. Those days they used to use Atari computers.
Okay.
That's the type of computer they used to use for music, We didn't have all these nice computers we have nowadays, And I had no clue. I didn't own a computer. Back in those days, not every home has a computer.
You have to come from the top elite to have a computer.
Course. So there were no computers. The only time I could touch a computer was to go to the studio to see one.
Wow.
So that's the Atari, that's the computer the man had. But even prior to that, he did a demo just using the keyboard.
Okay.
It was like a workstation.
Okay.
So he could program the drums somewhat or use the accompaniments. So that's how we started coming up with the song. So when I went and then gave the guys my song, I had to pay them to compose the song.
Okay.
And then also pay the keyboardist to program the song.
Okay.
And then the guy will sing the song. I will come back home, come and learn the song, and then go back to the studio and re-sing it. I'm still talking about how I became a sound engineer.
Right.
I can just cut it short.
Yeah.
It started from there.
Started from there.
So that was my first secular music.
Okay.
So we did everything, went to the studio. I even got a producer who wanted to promote me and all that. But something happened, some external influences, he didn't. And then, eventually, I kind of started writing. Well, I started going to church. So I joined the choir, and God started giving me these nice contemporary songs. That was because when I started going to church, I was listening to integrity music. That was when integrity music was integrity music.
Okay.
You hear Ron Kinolly, Alvin Slaughter, Lenny LeBlanc, those times, Don Moen.
Right, Don Moen.
So that's when integrity music was integrity music.
That's
and
right.
that's what we were all listening. We were singing their songs and all that. So those are the kind of songs. Kirk Franklin, that was the time Kirk Franklin
was
coming up. And he did Someone Asked a Question.
That's right.
Why do we sing? All those songs, we used to sing them,
Okay.
So based on that, I fell in love with contemporary.
Okay.
All right. So long story short, jump into a sound engineer. The love that I saw, how they were putting the music together, programming the drums and all that, I decided that, man, I love this. I want to do it too.
Wow.
So I started asking, where can I get a computer to buy? I used to be a teacher in a school called Day Spring Montessori in Dansoman. So I saved some money. There was a guy there who wanted to sell me a system unit. I didn't even have a clue whether you have to get good specs, the memory and all that. It didn't matter to me. A computer is a computer. That's all I knew. So I bought this computer, and then I met some guys who helped me buy some cables,
Right.
sound cards, and all that. So I kind of picked here and there from people, and then I put all of them together. I didn't know what I was doing. But gradually, as I played around it, I started getting better and better. And then I met a friend. His name is Kofi. He's currently in London.
Is he also
He's a
Emmanuel?
No, he's Kofi. He's Kofi. He's an excellent musician.
Wow.
He's a good studio engineer, good keyboardist, great. He's helped me countless times. So he'll come to the house after I've done some mixes. Then he'll come and correct it here and there. So it's been many years. I started building up. and I have never given up. Eventually, I rented a place,
Okay.
and then I had some friends, and family. I remember a cousin of mine brought me a compressor,
Right.
and a friend of mine brought me a studio mic and all that. So gradually I started building, I'll buy samples from here, I'll buy software from there. Anywhere I hear that good stuff I'll just jump in and buy. So that is where my journey of being a sound engineer came in. It took a long time before I found out the right things. Of course, then I traveled, I came to America. Of course, I started a studio back home.
Okay.
Of course, you didn't have all the equipment. So when I came here, I said, man, I'm going to pursue. So after 2007, when I did my first album, I started buying my own equipment. I started building it gradually to the extent that now I have live instruments. So it's not just the studio.
Right.
I have trusses to hang your speakers, lights, and all that. Drums separate for live instrument. I have a different mixer for live performances and a different mixer. So the studio setup and the live setup is totally different. It's not really about the money, it's the love of it. And I always go for high end. I love the best for God. So usually people will come, hey, you want to do this. Those places that I have to charge,
Right.
I do. But there are some places, this is all they can afford, I will still do. Recently we had a camp meeting in Arlington. I took everything there. It's not a dime, So that's where my sound engineer is, just for the love of it. It started from all the way back home. And then for the live, I didn't know much about live. I knew much about studio because I've been studying. So when I came here, I went to a program and I met a guy. The sound was just amazing. So I decided to buy everything that he owned, the same thing, so he can teach me. Then, he spent some time with me, went through from A to Z, teaching me live, setup and all that, And then, of course, almighty YouTube.
Wow.
Because you never finish learning.
That's true.
So that is where it began. That is where it is right now.
So I hear passion, and I hear determination, and I hear perseverance. And to sum it all, I think it sounds like passion driven with divine enablement. And that's encouraging.
Amen.
Wow, that's amazing. So you did mention you have a studio now.
Yes.
Okay, so please could you tell us more about it? How you run the studio and how someone can get in touch with you and what you can do to help those who may be stranded, musicians, up and coming, what you can do to help them out, because this life is such that you can't be an island. You need someone to help you. And from what you have said so far, you've walked the walks, you've been through a lot, you've known and seen different people, so you have the experience, you have the knowledge, so definitely you are in a better position to provide expertise, advice to those who truly need it.
Well, currently, the studio is in my basement. Okay. It's really set up good.
Okay.
And you'll be amazed the kind of sound you can get from there. I recently did some mixes I sent to some friends of mine, and the feedback was just mind-blowing. A friend of mine asked me, a pastor friend of mine who is also a musician, he said, why are you bringing, what did he say? He used one of those Australian contemporary, can you remind me of those Australian contemporary songs? Their live performances. Like hill songs,
okay.
They have elevation and all that. So he mentioned one of them and said, why are you bringing hill song into your home and all that? So he asked me if you recorded this at home, because it was unbelievable.
Right.
I have live drum setup, and I record live, everything live. Okay. I believe that there are some songs you would do programming, you use samples and all that. But right now, where music is going, it's like we're going back in history.
Right.
Everything is being recorded live, because with live, you get the real sound. When your instruments are tuned well, when the input that is coming, the signal that is coming into your DAW, it's called digital audio workstation. So when the signal that is coming in, it's already processed nicely, it's tuned well. Okay. Your mixes will be excellent, so that you don't put too much processing on the signal that is coming in. So I do live recording in the house, whatever instrument you want to play, from drums to trumpet to I've recorded violins, guitars, and all that. Yeah, so it's my basement. Of course, I'm in Fredericksburg. So as you're watching this, I believe that all the information will be there, and whatever, whenever you want to come to the studio, you can give us a call or send us an email.
Don, do you teach people how to learn the instruments too? Like, those who want to learn piano, guitar, because you play drums. I've seen you play drums. I've seen you play the piano. I've seen you pretty much, you are good with all the instruments. Do you teach that as well?
Well, so far, I know a lot of people have asked me to teach, but I've only taught friends. Unfortunately, sometimes when you do something for free,
right,
they don't take it serious, So the only, well, back home I taught some few guys who are still playing.
Okay.
But since I traveled, the only person that I've successfully taught that he's playing good, it's this young boy from Breakthrough, Pastor Thomas Ofosuhin, his son.
Okay.
He's the one that I know, he used to come at least twice a week or so. And then sometimes, we'll be over the phone, video, and then I'll give him assignments. And at that time, his father was, for lack of a better word, let me use the word desperate, because the musicians, they come and they don't stay, they go. So he wanted someone who would be permanent.
Right.
So he brought his son. And then, well, guess what? I knew him, but I decided that because I've been doing it for free and people are not serious, this time it wasn't going to be like that.
Okay.
Of course, it wasn't anything heavy, but just something for him to commit, for him to let the boy know that he wouldn't throw money away just like that.
There should be a skin in the game.
That's right. So now the boy is playing.
Wow.
And where he is now, he can now learn anything he wants to learn if he wants to progress. So I teach to a level where you understand, you know your bearings now. You know the keys, you know all the basic chords, you understand the chord structure, and then you can build it up from there. So yeah. Some people have called me. Some of them I've had time for them up to a certain level. When I get busy, well, maybe they also get frustrated, they leave. But sometimes I just want to see whether the person really wants to learn, especially when I'm not charging.
Okay.
I want to really, really see if you want to learn. So now I told myself I'm not going to do that again. When you come, I have to really test and make sure you really want to learn, because it's a waste of time for me.
Absolutely.
And for the person who is learning. Wow. So I teach, but it's not something that I've organized it to charge people to teach.
So it's more of selective teaching.
More or less.
Selective teaching, and the person has to make some kind of test, not visible test, but are you determined? How bad do you want it?
Yes.
What's your commitment level? Are you doing it because your pastor said you should do so, or you truly want to do it?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the criteria, because nowadays, you can just get someone who come in today, tomorrow they are no more. They won't show up. Absolutely. People are not serious.
Yes, I
can
agree.
Before you come, look, when I started, if I can calculate the miles, minimum of 5 miles one way, I will carry the piano and walk. Minimum of 5 miles. And then back. Every day. Sometimes I will go, and those days we didn't have cell phones. It wasn't common. I will go, and the gates are locked. The guys are not in the house.
Wow.
And, it's my loss. I have to get back. So eventually I had to stop, and I had to play. I had to find a way to play. In my church, they brought someone. He wasn't all that great because he was teaching everybody.
Right.
So it was tough for him to focus on the piano, focus on the bass, focus on the guitar, and all that. So all of us, we decided that we would press our way through, learn the best we can. So whenever we see someone, hey, this thing, how do you do it? Then the teacher, hey, this thing, how do we do it? So here and there.
Right.
And then we built up the rest for ourselves. So, yeah, I want to see people that are determined in order for me to teach them.
And that's fair enough. So viewers, Pastor Nickson is ready to teach you musical lessons only if you are committed to it. Those singers who are out there who need a mentor, who need someone to teach them what they ought to know. Music, as he said, now is not the music that it was 10 years ago. We all see, I think it's the Nigerian gospel singer now, Oyinka. We've seen him in live video performances. I think, is it Phil Thompson? Most of his videos too are live performances. Messi Chinwo from Nigeria, we see that. So that is becoming the trend. So if you want to catch up, hop on the bus of Pastor Nickson and make sure you reach out to him, and he will make sure he give you all the necessary information that you need. So Pastor Nickson, are you married? Are you a married man? Are you on the market? Are you searching? You know, where are you?
200% of the market.
I mean, that would be a blow to someone who has, you know, looking at you and thinking, okay, that's my man.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. Your man is a ghost. Yeah, I am married. With kids. I have 4 boys and 2 girls.
Beautiful.
Yes, and I see the talent in them. Of course, right now, everything that I'm doing it for them, especially when it comes to the music side. For a call to ministry, it is not a family business. So I can't say that because I'm a pastor, my wife has to be,
right.
My children have to be. You know, my wife is a pastor, but that is because God called her.
God called her.
I didn't call her. You know, God calls a man. He doesn't call a couple. No pastor can convince me that God calls a couple. He calls a man. Always a man. Look at Bible carefully. The women are there to support, but God always calls a man.
If you say a man, do you mean the masculine gender, or you mean a person? God calls a person.
In Genesis chapter 5, the Bible says that he created them male and female and called their name Adam.
Okay.
So man, Adam means man, mankind.
Right.
So God calls a man. Just like in the Bible, we are the sons of God. We are not the daughters of God. In fact, it is wrong for us to say daughters of God. However, you know, in our generation for better understanding, we say daughters. Because in Christ Jesus, there is neither male nor female. So why would we say sons and daughters? We are all sons in God. Because if you look at scripture, an heir has to be a son. No female will be an heir. So an heir has to be a son. So if the Bible says we are heirs of God and co-heirs with Christ, we have to be sons. So in the realms of the spirit, we are all sons. So God calls a man. Well, let's say God calls a person.
That's right. Wow, that's interesting to know. You've made a very strong point that the fact that a spouse is called doesn't necessarily mean that the other spouse have to force to be called too. The calling is God that does it.
Today, many pastors have become gods. They have called their spouses into ministry. The fact that, I'm the pastor, it means that my wife definitely must be respected as the pastor. They want to get a respect that is only apportioned on people by God. By hook or crook, you have to honor my wife as a woman of God. Or if the woman is called, you have to honor my husband as a man of God. No, God calls a person. I always say that anything with 2 heads is a beast. Imagine 2 heads, they all want to think. And today, one day, one decided that this is my way of thinking.
Right.
So how is it going to be? There's going to be division. It's going to be chaos. But these 2 heads are on one neck. It's going to be trouble.
Absolutely.
You can't stand. A kingdom divided by itself. That is why God calls. That's why even in heaven, we have the Godhead.
That's right.
Godhead, God the Father, God the Son. So head must always be one.
Wow.
Even if your spouse is called you in ministry, there must be one head. Whenever I see, co-pastor, there has to be a description about it. We have to understand, what do you mean by co? Because co means co-equal. You understand? There can never be equal leadership, even in regular settings in a company. If we all have to make decisions and there is no one person who has the final say, we're in trouble.
That's right.
That is why in organizational settings, when you're choosing board of directors, we choose an odd number.
Right.
So when there is voting,
there could be a tiebreaker.
Yes. So all these things are biblical, and even the world understands it. In the church, there's chaos because everybody wants to lead.
Absolutely.
But there's always only one leader.
Wow. So the appropriate word should be assistant pastor, but not co.
Not co.
Once you put co there, then you are setting the pipeline or the pathway to chaos in the future.
We are all equal.
Wow.
I don't believe in that.
Wow.
And it's not biblical too. I don't know anyone can support with scripture about being cool. He called Abraham.
He didn't call Sarah.
He didn't call Sarah.
Sarah came along, but he didn't call her.
No.
Wow.
You know, look at Moses. After Moses, who? Joshua.
Joshua.
But Joshua and Caleb,
Right.
they were more like the people that actually saw the vision.
Yes.
But it was handed over to Joshua.
Right.
And if you look at it, it's like that. God doesn't call two people, only one person.
Wow. I'm learning as well, and I hope the viewers are also learning as well. Pastor Nickson, so how many years have you been married for?
Currently 10 years.
Wow.
10
Wait,
years.
me 10, 1-0.
1-0.
Wow.
10
It's been
years.
10 years already? Because I
Yes.
remember the wedding. I'm not sure I made it, but I mean, I heard of it. I saw the news. I was there for the engagement Thanksgiving.
Right.
You know, but I can't believe it's 10 years already.
It's actually 11, but the wedding is 10. I say this to say that the concept of that church white wedding is not what we call marriage.
Marriage, absolutely.
Of course, you can decide that is the way you want to marry. But where we come from, we have not abolished tradition because it's not wrong.
No,
I will not follow a wrong tradition.
Right.
Because I'm in a new family of God. But that tradition where there was a pastor, of course, the Bible never said that we should marry in the church anyway. So we married in the home, parents, a mother and a father were there, family were there, pastor was there was a ring. That is when we got married.
Okay.
So in December, and then the following year, we did the
white
marriage.
wedding.
We did a white wedding. Wow. So yeah, more than 10 years.
Wow, this is a huge blessing.
Yeah.
10 years of marriage and 6 kids. Beautiful, amazing. So I'm curious to know, you being a pastor, your wife also an assistant pastor to some degree, with the kids, 4 strong boys, 2 beautiful strong girls as well. Your professional job, your career, plus your studio that you are running, teaching instruments. How are you able to balance your life as a pastor, as a husband, as a father, as someone who's playing some kind of role in the community and all of that? How are you able to balance it? Because Bible even said that a false balance is an abomination unto the Lord. I'm really interested in that.
Well, I always tell my wife that, like I said initially, no one takes this honor upon himself. Of course, God calls a man, and then his family, God blesses him so that his family understands his calling, and then they support. So that's a blessing.
Right.
There are people that the family do not support their calling. It's a dangerous place to be, because when you don't have support system, even education, when you're about to enroll in any school, they will ask about your support system. If you don't have a good support system, it means that, so let's say, my wife is in school right now. Okay. And there must be a support system. She tells me that, hey, today I have an exam coming up. I have to make sure that I keep the kids so that they don't disturb her. That's a support system.
Okay.
So, thankfully, she's also in ministry. She understands. So, I would say that it's been a blessing because we do this together. And my wife is really helpful. It's overwhelming sometimes because we're human beings.
Absolutely.
But I've learned not to allow myself to be overwhelmed with God's blessing. So I say this to say that the balance is that we as a family understands that we are called into ministry.
Okay.
From children all the way.
Okay.
Everyone understands that we are called into ministry. Certain lifestyles my kids cannot live. Certain places they cannot go. Certain words they cannot say. So all these things are a training so that when daddy is praying, they know that it's time for prayer. They know that we can't disturb daddy because he's praying. When mom and dad are praying, they know. Usually every night, my wife will have these confessions with them, pray for them, and then they'll go and sleep. And recently, about 2 weeks ago, we always pray together, and all the kids came and said that, because we moved into this house in April, we are in August.
Okay.
So when we came in, we had family prayer meeting every Sunday. For some reason, busy schedules here and there, so it stopped.
Okay.
The kids, all of them came together and said, when are we going to resume our long family prayer time?
I like the adjective long.
That's what they said, exactly how they said it. Because it's not like the evening, good night prayer that we pray for them, they confess their confession, we share the grace. No, this is a time where we spend some time in the presence of God with all the kids. So they brought the proposal that when are we going back to do this again?
Wow.
Yeah. So I told them Sunday, so which was the past Sunday, but I had some exam to do. So by the time I finished my exam, they had already prayed. My wife prayed with them and they went to sleep, so we couldn't do it. But it's a blessing. You're talking about balance.
Balance.
It's
yes.
a blessing for you to have kids as young as they are who understands that this is what we do and they enjoy prayer.
Wow.
Kids. So the balance is easy because the kids understand. And thankfully, we have my wife's aunt living with us. Last week, we were in camp from Thursday all the way to Saturday night. And every year we go to this camp meeting and she'll be here with the kids, So it's been a blessing. Of course, other days I have to go and sing somewhere and usually my wife is with me. When she can't, she will keep the kids, and they are growing, so they have their iPads, they will stay home, wait for us to come. Sometimes we come late, they'll be sleeping, So I don't know how we do it, but God has been good.
Amen.
Yeah, I'm able to go to work. Sometimes, man, getting up Monday morning.
Monday morning has never been my favorite day.
Oh, I have a job currently
Okay.
that I do my own schedule.
Okay.
So let's say I have a project, I have to finish the project within 2 weeks.
Okay.
So I can move it to the last week, as long as I'm able to meet the
finish
deadline.
it.
Yeah. So it's sometimes Monday, Tuesday, I'll skip work. And then the workload will become
More
Wednesday,
on the
Thursday,
rest,
Friday, But I'll get the work done. Sometimes I can even move it to Saturday,
Okay.
if possible the following week, as long as I meet the deadline, So that has been helpful for now, I will change jobs, so it's not going to be there forever. But right now, that has been a blessing.
Wow.
That has been.
So to reiterate what you said, with all the hats or the many hats that you have on, you've been able to balance family, ministry, work, and other responsibility because of some key reasons or key pointers. That is one, having a support system.
Yes.
Which makes me to think that everyone needs a support system,
Yes.
and it's not wrong for you to ask for help when you need one.
Yes.
Once you need help, yell out, "I need help."
Yeah.
Because the disciples did it when they couldn't calm the storm.
Yeah.
And Jesus came to their aid and helped them out. And then you also said that understanding is one of the process or one of the things that you have to initiate into the family so that you'll be able to have balance.
Yes.
Because the wife understands what your roles are, what your position is. The kids do understand.
Yeah.
So that calms the waters.
Yeah.
Because when a kid needs you and they know daddy is praying, they understand daddy is praying. No need to disturb, they'll come back later.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow. So understanding a great support system, and you just said that you don't allow yourself to be overwhelmed. And that's something very key. If we have time, I want to come back to that.
Okay.
Because we are living in a world where if you don't take care, you feel like you're supposed to be the savior of the world, and you want to do everything, and that's
right.
where the problem is.
Yes.
And you begin to drown like Peter.
I used to be like that.
Wow.
I used to be like that. I mean, you know me. When I come to your church,
Yes.
the drama is not playing well, I want to jump in and save it. If something's going on there, I want to jump in. I see an instrument laying down, I'm a servant.
Right.
So irrespective of where I go, as long as it's the house of God, I will jump in to help. That is my nature. If it's the house of God and I get the opportunity to serve, recently, what was last year when Nanas, I think before the COVID,
Okay.
when Nanas, Prophet Nanas, I don't know if you heard.
Yeah, I
was
heard
in
he
town.
came to, I think, Baltimore, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was sitting there among the pastors. I was there and I saw my fellow musicians. like Pompo, Blay, and all those guys. And then the drummer was tired. Everybody was looking at my direction. I didn't feel big to say that I'm a pastor. I'm going to sit with the pastors. I jumped in, and for hours I was sitting behind the drums. I played and played and played and played, and until they were about to play the song they have practiced, so that the drummer can rest. I don't feel big to serve in any capacity. In my former church, I used to be the janitor.
Wow.
Well, that was before I was a pastor, but I was doing every duty as a pastor. But after they ordained me, the leaders came together and said they cannot allow their pastor to clean the bathrooms and all that. So that is when that ended. You know, in my church currently, since we are meeting in the hotel, being a musician, the only person that is more technically inclined when it comes to setup, I go early before with my family. Of course, we wake up before the entire congregation, and we live the farthest.
Wow.
But we get there first before everybody else. And it's been like that since we started our church.
Wow.
Even when we're meeting in the house, we will get to the person's house before the person will get ready. You know,
Wow.
That is the burden of responsibility and also a passion of understanding. And I know it's not going to change. When we have a bigger church and everything is set up, it's still not going to change. When we had our own place, everything was set up, we still get there first before everybody else.
Wow.
Even though others had the key to open, but it's become a part of us. You know, it's not easy for the kids sometimes. After church, they're hungry, they want to eat chips here and there. So we carry snacks along. But what I'm saying is this: when it's in your heart, you will not let anything stop you.
That's amazing. But we have more questions for you. We have to go on a very quick commercial break. And after that, viewers, get ready. Pastor Nickson will give us more about himself that you'll be amazed. We'll be back shortly.
The following broadcast is brought to you by KMTV Kmtv and L4C Multimedia, USA.